This is the No Strings Podcast with Rel Simon.
The truth has set me free. I am Ron Killings. I am the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now put some respect on my name. Y'all.
Shout out to Ron Killings, R-Truth, WWE superstar. Will the truth set you free after this podcast today? Will it set you free after this podcast today? Welcome back, y'all, on this Independence Day weekend. Always a special few days on this weekend. This is the No Strings Podcast with Rel Simon, episode 66, titled Liberation. Set you free. Will the truth set you free? Will my truth set me free? This episode, almost as a follow-up to the last episode, Buy Now, Pay Later. With the Buy Now, Pay Later programs, again, this is a financial podcast. It's about breaking free from the chains, evading the norm, doing things out of the ordinary to achieve that financial success, living a no strings lifestyle. But I got a string tethered to me. A lot of us have these ropes and chains and strings. And it's all about the liberation. And that's what this podcast is, to be a motivator. Each time I come out, try to motivate, try to inspire. So let's break it down. Let's start with the definition of liberation, followed by a few brief historical moments, and then we'll shift over to the financial aspect of where I'm tying it all in. So liberation, defined from Britannica, is the act or process of freeing someone or something from another's control. The act of liberating someone or something. Now, if we look at historical moments on liberation, with this taken from vocabulary.com, and myself, I sort of added the context in terms of the years and the time frame as I go along. But from vocabulary.com, some famous historical moments, famous, infamous, however you want to call it, harsh, but also freeing, revolutionary moments of liberation include Europe's liberation from the Nazis, which occurred in the 1940s. You have the slaves' liberation from slavery in the U.S., which occurred in the 1860s with the Emancipation Proclamation, the ending of the Civil War, and Juneteenth, which Juneteenth recently just made an official national holiday, was just celebrated a few weeks ago on June 19th. And you have South Africa's liberation from oppression of apartheid, which occurred in the 1990s. And like I mentioned at the beginning, we're in the midst of the July 4th weekend. You got July 4th, you got July 6th, you got July 4th, you got July 5th, and you got July 6th. July 6th is a very special day, of course. But we know that July 4th is also known as Independence Day. And that's the day where America liberated itself from British rule. The 13 colonies liberated themselves from British rule. Now, all these examples, what they portray is what liberation is and how liberation is created. And in my opinion, liberation is created due to an inhumane use of power and resources, be it by persons, principalities, and or governments, to try and control societies, regions, cultures. Again, you think about slavery, right? Something that 200 plus years ago, right, where you brought over on a boat. You made it work, whips and chains, human lives. And as you progress towards voting, your vote, you're not voting as one person. Your vote is 3/5 of a vote. South Africa liberation, even Ghana, right? I learned about Ghana really became independent only about 60 odd something years ago, less than or more than 60 years ago for Ghana. But when we think about liberating ourselves in this certain society, there's some people that possibly need to liberate themselves from their job, their relationship. They're probably in a bad situation. Probably need to move somewhere else. You don't like where you live, and those are just kind of like base level compared to like the immense or society changing, history changing events here. But we know that history happens every single day, and in essence, it's up to us to create positive history every chance that we get, and not negative history. And also to intersperse some recent events here. Trump just signed his quote unquote big beautiful bill, I believe yesterday, which it's a highly detailed bill. You can Google it and you can pretty much get all the gist of it. In essence, and I'm looking at an article from USA Today right now, that there's going to be an extension of the 2017 tax cuts. This is the biggest item, costing about $3.7 trillion over the next 10 years, according to the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. You have cuts to healthcare and food programs, Medicare, SNAP benefits. These reductions would save about $1.3 trillion. In a twisted way, it will save money for the government, but on the other hand, you're going to have a lot of people without or even with less in this economy. A lot of people out here will not be liberated from poverty. They'll sink further and deeper down. A lot of it is fearing for the children of those kids who don't necessarily eat or get 3 meals a day. The Penn-Wharton budget model forecasts that the lowest income household will be left worse off because of cuts to Medicare and SNAP, formerly known as food stamps. Those Americans could lose $27,500 over a lifetime, while the highest income households will gain more than $65,000. And there's no tax on on tips or overtime wages. The standard deduction is raised for it's up to $15,750 for individuals, $31,500 for married couples, $23,625 for heads of households. After 2025, it'll be adjusted for inflation. There's additional things in terms of deductions if you're a senior, car loan interest, increased child tax credit. There's something here about a savings accounts for kids. Children under 8 will receive $1,000 each to open special savings accounts. Tax-free contributions to account limited to $5,000 annually until the child is 18. Savings can be used after the child turns 18. Certain areas of the bill, of course, more money for defense, increases spending by $153 billion, more for border security, and of course, Trump is a war, military, army guy, or he loves America, the big, beautiful defense and whatever else. This guy here with the orange hair, more for defense spending, border security, because he wants to deport and get so many people out of America, undocumented immigrants. It's just a whole thing. And there's things about liberation in there where people are being shut out or people being pushed back away. You have people living in South America, Mexico, right? A lot of people in the Latin American community or just immigrants in general, refugees, trying to get away from where they were previously to liberate themselves to find a better life. And this happens every single day. And now with ICE just deporting people back that aren't supposed to be in the country, who they seek to some type of asylum to find a better better financial footing in life. And now they're going back. And so, for a lot of people, this is going to affect them. It's almost one step forward and two steps back, while for others, it's 3 steps forward in a sense, right? So, all right, shifted back to that. And it just feels like the only way to sort of free yourself, if you're an American citizen, I guess, if you got an ID, passport, whatever, if you're social security number, whatever, if you're legally here, even in this economy, everything is that, you have to control your household and you have to still continue to liberate yourself financially. Because whether you think about it or not, or whether you like it or not, as we shift into the financial sort of portion of the reason why I'm getting to this episode of liberation, there's many of us that are chained in some form or fashion with our money, our finances, our loans, our IOUs. There's a lot of us that stretch past our financial limitations and we end up owing money to someone or something. And it's addictive because shopping, vacations, debt, it's addictive. In some, it's a necessity. Putting groceries on a credit card because you don't have enough money in the month. You're not making enough money. And you think about it in modern days. There's modern day slavery, financial slavery going on right now. As it states in the Bible, the borrower is slave to the lender. You got Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Navient, Klarna, Afterpay, Sezzle, right? Klarna, Afterpay, and Sezzle, right? These buy now, pay later companies I talked about last episode. Car companies, Toyota, Hyundai, Tesla, Honda, Ford, banks that issue credit cards and issue mortgages. Of course, Chase, Bank of America, SoFi, and so many other companies. And even as a sidebar, when you in terms of a mortgage, when you buy a house, you think you can afford the house, but when you overstretch and you end up being house poor, then again you're being enslaved, you're being chained to that house. You end up foreclosing, going for bankruptcy, trying to sell down and get into a more reasonable house. But with Visa and all those I mentioned, and Afterpay, some of these car companies, right? Credit cards, student loans, buy now, pay later. SoFi and many of these other companies, they own people right now. Some of these companies that I listed probably own you right now, in a sense. You may owe $500 on a credit card bill. You may owe $1,000 on a credit card bill, right? Who owns me right now? Admittedly, Chase, unfortunately, right? And I'll get into that in a second because it's summertime, right? But Chase kind of owns me right now as I record. I got to try to liberate myself and get out of it. But these sort of financial masters, quote unquote masters, will trap the consumer, and you'll stay trapped until you change your own narrative, until you get to self-control and you work to liberate yourself and break the chains. Now, put a hand up if the ropes and chains are tied all around you. If you got multiple ropes and multiple chains, you feel like you can't move, you can't breathe. Raise your hand if you only got a few chains, maybe a few strings tied around you. As I mentioned, I got a string. Chase, credit card game. And a lot of that is self-inflicted. It's habits. It's habitual. My wrestling card. You go to addiction, trading card, whatever, my hobby. But also there's a lot of little things that have been going on this summer. I just went to the car show last weekend. I've got a birthday coming up, and I'm not doing anything too extravagant. Most likely by the time you listen to this, the birthday would have already come and gone. I got wrestling SummerSlam in August. I got Comic-Con again this year in October. My church is doing a big gala. And a lot of these things are like big ticket things where you're paying for a ticket and you're paying for transportation and you're doing this and doing that. And I did a lot of the sort of blunt force work via credit card, of course, unfortunately, or in the month of June. And so now it's just trying to just play catch up, just play a little bit of catch up. And again, June, July, August, September, about mid-September, about the second week of September, we'll define what summer is, or the summer season is. But as it says, it's summertime. You have a lot of activities going in the city, going out of the city. I see some things going on my TikTok feed. It's like, oh man, should I check this out? Should I not? Whatever. A lot of times it's kind of like, for me, it's just a little resistance where it's like, I might chill a day or whatever, right? Because that's bang for admission and bang for drinks and then pay for that, maybe one or two drinks or whatever. I don't know, but there's a lot of activities happening in the city, outside the city. You got the kids out of school. You got a lot of employees that want to take vacations if they have kids or not. It's the summertime. You want to use up the vacation leave. You're paying for travel. You're paying to go out to eat, paying for the flights. And the weather, for the most part, is bearable. Now in D.C., I've been telling people, it's been feeling a little like Phoenix heat versus like a Ghana heat. But this past few days or so, it's been all right. But it's still, it's bearable, but borderline a little much around this area, right? But sometimes it feels like this time of year. And you think about the winter time, where in the winter there's Thanksgiving and there's Christmas, and people still go to trips, of course, year round. But the summertime itself, more often than not, almost feels like it's the time of the year, and it served as an excuse versus a justification to go into debt. We got some of us that liberate our clothes to touch the beach sunshine before we liberate our debts. But what happens when you liberate? When you pay off your debt? You get on a plan, snowball, avalanche method, however you pay it off. Pay off your credit cards, pay off your student loans. Work towards paying off your house way down the line. Pay off your Klarna, your buy now, pay later, your Afterpay. Get your car out the way. Pay your car off. But what happens, when you liberate? Your credit scores go up. We know that for some people, your credit score, you can liberate yourself. You increase your credit score. That opens you to more. It can open you to more trouble because it can open you to more lenders, more opportunities. But again, in a sense, when you have a credit score of like under 600, that tightens your grip. It doesn't allow you to do too much. And so by increasing your credit score, you're sort of liberating your credit standing, your credit rating to these borrowers. When you liberate yourself financially, your net worth increases. And that's so important to have an increased net worth as you get older, as you lead towards retirement, as you become an empty nester, the kids move out of the house. When you liberate yourself, you have less stress. You're not thinking about money that much. You're able to think about other things. You're able to think about your other hobbies and activities, and you're able to dip and delve into new hobbies and new activities. You have more breathing room, which is, again, less stress. It's just less squeezing you and holding you together. You're not holding yourself together with duct tape and Band-Aids. You're actually standing up straight. You can smile more. You can, you aren't slouched a little bit. You can stretch your neck out a little bit. You could probably retire earlier. You can likely give or donate more, tithe more to your church, donate more. dedicate more of your time, right? If you have a bunch of debt, you may be taking 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, pay things down, do what you got to do. But you end up freeing time. Paying down debt gives you more time, more free time anyway. And also, of course, when you liberate, you pay down a debt loop. Episode that I talked about the debt loop a while back. And sometimes it's all just about basic common sense, because what good is owning an Apple credit card when you make purchases on an Apple credit card, you may overreach your skis, and you're going to have to, when you make those purchases, you're going to have to pay them back later, hopefully on time without any additional interest. And that's where that mastery comes from, because it's reverse interest, where like you're giving more to the company because they're charging interest because you didn't pay things back on time. It's taking more out of your own hard-earned money. Versus when you consider buying Apple stock instead, because when you buy stock into a company, you technically, quote unquote, you own a share of the company. Down the line, you can sell for a profit in the future. You're building your net worth by buying into investments. When you time the market correctly, you can sell hopefully for a positive gain. So there's just a lot you could do, And to my listeners, this is the thing about listening to the episode and doing it and taking something good out of this episode versus actively doing it on a whim. And so if you're listening to this right now, I challenge you to pause the episode and go ahead and put $100 down on your credit cards or your student loans. Just cut through some of that financial mess. Cut through some of the financial heat of the summer. Just act out right on a whim right now. And I'm pausing because right now, let me go to, give me 1 second. So that's that. Let me go to, okay, so that's that. Checking my account right now because I'm going right to Chase. And what I just say, pause the episode, even though I can't pause. I'm still going, but you can pause as I'm trying to kill some time. But here we go, right? So I'm going right to my app. And again, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm moving. Just know for sure that I do as I say, and I'm trying to get to it right now. Pay card, other amount, $100, next, make payment, pay it. Boom, just like that. Live, like right there on the podcast. I mean, I got a little money in the bank account. Just throw $100 at it. You may not have it right now. Maybe wait until payday. Or maybe you just got paid, and maybe you put down more than $100. But boom, just live right there. And if you paused the episode and you did it, and congrats, because you took a step towards that financial liberation. And I literally just did it. I wish I had like a video screen cap. It's like proof, but nah, I did it. I put down 100 on the Chase card. So yeah. And again, sometimes it hurts. But when you think about those historical events, sure there were wars. There were people who dedicated their blood, sweat, tears, and lives to get through this. And again, those are high level. I'm just trying to bring it down to base level, like normal sort of every day, because none of us are in wars or anything like that. But there are people who have literally deleted themselves. I'm not going to use the particular word, right? If you catch the drift, you catch the drift, over being so weighed down by debt. Being in debt and financial delinquency changes lives. If you're on the bad end, it changes lives for the worse. So just think about like in sports. When sports, the goal is to win the championship each and every season. Going through the off season, getting your body right, going through training camps, mini camps. And when you win the championship, it's that culmination of months, for some years of discipline and tireless work. A lot of people go on all these leagues, never win a championship, and they retire. A lot of people do, and then they don't. I mean, they 15 years, 17 years, 10 years, whatever. You finally get a title. Once obtained for that particular team, or even if it's like a singular sport, like tennis, right? U.S. Open, French Open, whatever, Wimbledon. The goal is to, once you win it, can you defend it? Can you start a dynasty? Can you go consecutively? That's the ultimate challenge. Because, of course, like they always say, once you're at the top, you know, when you're at the top, there's nowhere to go but down. When you're at the bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. Some people stay down. Some people stay up. So paying off debt is similar. Like when you're debt free, you become a champion. I became a champion a few years ago. But it's easy to fall back into the trap. I'm not deep into the trap that I was before, but I can see the lines. But I have that level of control and can really push the gas to sort of erase and clip my last string. Question is, do you think you are strong-willed enough to maintain your liberation? Do I think I'm strong-willed enough to maintain my own liberation? I'm very, very confident in myself. And I'm confident in you as well. So, y'all, the year is halfway over. And just remember to continue to move with grace, comfort, intention, and passion in this 2025 and throughout the rest of your life. Because managing your finances, it's a lifelong puzzle. It's a Rubik's Cube that you can solve. You can liberate yourself. And don't be afraid to read up on these historical sort of financial moments, not just regular historical moments about liberation and things like that. But of course, as always, train your brain every day. But read those financial books, watch those financial literacy videos, and you'll start to learn about the truth. And just like we started the video, I'm going to end the video as if I was doing a video. Just like we started the podcast, we're going to end the podcast with the truth has set me free. So all I got for y'all today, episode 66, Liberation. Thanks for listening, tuning into the No Strings podcast. I will catch you on the next one. Peace. Thank you for listening to the No Strings podcast with Rel Simon.